If your mornings start with chaos and coffee, welcome to Ask the Gregorys, your go-to parenting podcast. Meet the Gregorys, Pastor Doug and Dr. Sanji Gregory. These are our three kiddos, 2 boys and 1 girl. This is a podcast where we dive into the joys and chaos of raising kids. From expert advice to hilarious stories, we've got you covered. We take your questions and give our opinions based on research, scripture, and our own success and failures. Please don't forget to subscribe and ask a question. Let's join the next episode of Ask the Gregorys, the podcast, where we tackled the difficult questions together.
Okay, honey. I'm doing a new podcast, and I want your opinion about something. Okay, so do you think I could have done better with the kids and their chores?
Yes.
Okay. Elaborate.
Okay. I think with their daily chores, I think we could have been more consistent. Like making their bed, putting their clothes away, doing their own laundry. I think in those early days, I think developing a behavior or a system of self-discipline, kind of like when people are on a diet, it's the first couple weeks that are hardest. And I think if we would have really devoted, like 2 weeks a month of, focusing on that, it probably would have helped.
Okay. Did you used to get upset with me about the chores?
I did.
Because?
Because you didn't feel it was as urgent as I did. Like making the bed, you were like, they don't need to make the bed. If they're going to get in it and make it, mess it up at night.
Okay. All right. And what about stacking wood?
Stacking wood?
Yeah.
What are you asking? That should they have done more stacking wood? Should you have done more?
All right. Thank you for your opinion. Okay. Now I get to tell my side of the story. And my side of the story is I wasn't that great when it came to chores. My thought process about it was emotional. It really was. I didn't think through what was best for my kids. I just responded out of emotion. And when the kids would go to school in particular, during the school year, I felt like they worked all day long. They were there for like 7 hours, and that they had to pay attention and they had to sit in their seats and they didn't have a whole lot of freedom or fun. And so I felt bad for them. And when they came home, I wanted them just to be able to relax and enjoy their time at home. And then they had to do their homework anyways. So those were my focus. But my husband would say, as you know, that the kids should always come home and do some chores too. And I just felt bad for them. And so a lot of times I would kind of get them out of the chores. Now, they're adults now. And what I've learned is that it's better for them to learn reality, to be prepared for real life. And the truth is that we have to go to work. We have to work all day. Then we have to come home and mow the lawn or do the dishes or do the laundry. And we have to do this throughout the week, not just on the weekends. And so having the kids do their chores just on the weekends is not realistic. And it makes more sense to go ahead and teach them that discipline early on. So one piece of advice that I would give to you to give them a little bit of flexibility is to let each child, as they are able, when they're age appropriate, to develop their own schedule for after school. And so say to them, you need to do an hour of chores. You get this much time doing homework and you get this much of freedom time, whether it's playing video games, watching TV, or just playing outside or whatever it is that your child likes to do. And allow them to make that schedule and tweak it along the way, as long as they're getting everything in. One of the things you'll notice with your kids is some of them need some downtime when they come home from school. Others will want to come in and just get the homework done and knock it out of the way, get their chores done, and then relax. So every child's different, and I don't think we should be so rigid that we're making each child do a schedule we have created for them and we're making them do. So we'll give them the elements of what needs to be done, each day, let them make their schedule, and then we can we can review it, assess it each week and see how it went and if we need to make any adjustments to it. So that's one of my pieces of advice that I've learned kind of the hard way. Another thing that's asked quite frequently is about chores and money, and should we pay our kids to do chores? And I agree with my husband on this, that chores is just a part of our life, and it's really not something that we can choose to do or not do. We all need to do our chores. And so I don't think it's a great idea to pay your kids to do chores. What I would suggest is, yes, you can give them allowance, but I wouldn't necessarily tie that into the chores. They still need to always complete their chores. That's just part of being a member of the family. Everybody needs to pull their weight. What you could do is have extra chores that you pay them to do. And I have seen that, and you probably have seen it on the internet, some cool ideas of, different chores that are extra and how much they would get if they did that chore, so they can kind of choose which extra chore they would like to do, and then they would get the amount of money that is attached to that. So I think that's a great idea, to get a little bit of extra money for them and extra work around the house done for us, but their normal chores should not be paid. And that's my opinion on that. Also, when it comes to money, and we'll do another one just on money, but when it comes to chores and money, as they are, making extra money, if you're giving them allowance, whatever it is, help them to learn how to manage that money really young. And so you can encourage them to tithe off of that, to also give to others, and then use some of it for spending and some of it for savings. And it might be such a little amount, but just teaching them that skill early on will help make the whole process easier. In fact, we always have had our children tithe. They tithed any money that they were given to them. They would tithe when they started their first set of jobs. And now they are all adults. They all tithe, and it's just really something that is just a habit for them. They give to the church, and they never complain about it because it's just something that they've always done. And so this is the point of helping them to learn to do their chores, to learn these good behaviors early on, so that it's easier for them. It doesn't feel so difficult because they've made a habit out of it. So start when they're young and be consistent along the way, because a lot of times what happens is we set up a chore chart and then we end up going and doing it for them anyways. Don't do that, okay? The kitty litter, if it's, filled up to the brim and you're thinking, well, I'll just do it anyways, don't do it anyways. Just let them know that there's a consequence if they don't do their chores, just like there is for all of us. If we don't do our chores, then there are going to be consequences. If you don't do the dishes, you're going to get bugs. But we don't want the natural consequence, so we'll provide a consequence of our own to try to help them to learn those skills.